Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You're all in. Yeah, you're all in. Let me see. How are you? How's your day?
Good.
Good. Why do you say
Yeah.
good? What's
I
good
don't
for you?
know.
I mean, good is very subjective.
hmm I don't know. To be honest, I wish all the coronavirus will be gone soon.
Yeah, I think you're not the only one who's wishing and praying that it will be
hmm
gone soon. It has actually created massive damage, not
Yeah.
only here in Korea, but of course in other parts of the world. But thinking on the other side, probably it has done some good things also for people. What do you think? How about the others? Ladies and gentlemen, please change your Hangul name, in the characters into alphabet. My screen is not so big, so if it's written in Hangul, it's difficult for me to read and call your name. So may I ask you to please, yeah, thank you, Duyon. Thank you, Kwang Sub. Okay, so we're here. We're ready to start a new session for this 21st century. So how do we start? We start by probably reviewing what we have talked about last week. So last week I have presented to you few trends. Actually, I got that from it's the thing that we pondered last week. The 20 trends that they predict for the future is actually done or brainstormed by students and faculty coming from Australia. And so yeah, we made use of it, and probably it's not only the 20 trends, but probably there's more, right? If you will agree with me. But the point is, it's not how many, but the point is, why are we concerned about that? I think that's a question that I left you with before we end the meeting. So yeah, why are we concerned? That's actually the very interesting topic that we had last week. Why are we concerned? Why are we supposed to know? Aside from curiosity, what's the reason? Why do we have to know what will be happening in the future? I would like to hear your answer, especially you because you're still young. For me, I'm actually in the noontime of my life. So in your case, it's just the beginning, right? So why are we concerned? Lee Sung-ju, let me just call it. Lee Sung-ju, you don't have a microphone, you don't have a video, but I can see that you're in. So please make sure that you fix whatever you need to fix so that we can see and hear you. Okay, who would like to answer that?
Because we have to face the situation, so it's a good way to prepare ourselves
Yeah.
to by knowing what's gonna happen in our future.
Yeah, I think that's a key word to
hmm
prepare, right? To prepare
hmm
for ourselves for the future. How about the others? What do you think about that idea of, discussing the trends? Don't worry. Whatever answer you have is okay. Why? Thank you, Isumju. Okay, welcome. Why talk about the future?
Because sometime or later we have to live in that timeline, and in order to live in that timeline, well, as he said before, we have to prepare ourselves, or how should I say? Well, and even some of us have to learn about the future in order to, how should I say, to maintain just a living life like that.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
That is what I think.
Yeah, that's perfectly correct. How about the others? Feel free to express yourself. We're here to talk about issues. Because after I hear from you, I'll be throwing another question. Nobody?
Mhm.
Okay, so as I said, the key word is to prepare. Now, that's the future. Let's center the reflection on you. Okay, on you. So, how do you prepare yourself? I mean, as of this moment, you are all in the university, and probably a year from
Mhm.
now or a semester from now, you're going to graduate. So, we've seen the future, but how about you? Have you seen your future? Have you, how do we say that? Have you prospected your future? So,
No idea.
no idea. Long and Sheen, have you? Have you done that?
Me- uh, so you're asking me. So am I prospect my future?
Yeah. Have you seen your future? You. I mean, don't don't mind the environment, but you.
Mhm.
How have
Well,
you seen yourself in the future?
well, from my experience, I always, dream or plan something, but it always didn't work out as I planned. So I'm I'm I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on tomorrow, but like I'm just focused on today you know, so that whatever happens tomorrow or with a lot of uncertainty, I can deal with this. So I'm preparing for myself for future, but it's unpredictable.
Yeah, I like what you said. You're preparing, you're dreaming, you're probably listing down. But as you
Hmm.
said, not everything that you have planned happens, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
imagine you have already planned for that and doesn't happen. Much more if there's no preparation, right?
Hmm.
So how about the others? How do you see yourself? How do you see, probably you can imagine by now, what are you doing? What kind of work are you doing? Where do you live? Have you done that to yourself?
A couple of times actually, but yeah, it's too blurry for me right now
Still
to.
blurry.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are too many consequences to my actions like that. Even if I do resume for a couple of companies, and if I do get a job, it's a tight economy, so I can't, how should I say, clearly see myself what I'm doing in the future right now is, yeah, even even I'm a fourth grader, it's too blurry for me right now.
Yeah, you said too blurry, but the thing is, you've mentioned that you are sending resume. So
Yeah.
probably you're in a good stage because even though it's blurry, but the thing is you're doing something, right?
Mm,
That's an important
Hmm.
thing. You're doing
maybe.
something. Yeah.
Maybe.
How about the others? How do you see yourself? Usually I ask my students, how do you see yourself 10 years or maybe 20 years from now? Good thing to hear that some of you do have plans, although of course it fails. Yeah, that's actually part of life. Not everything that we dream or aspire for, it happens. But what is important is our willingness to start again and to plan again, because that's how life is. What for the other people? Maybe you know why I'm throwing this question, babe, because sometimes we're too busy and we're too preoccupied with things that keeps us busy. Maybe it's technology, maybe it's friends, but sometimes we're caught in a situation wherein we're not ready because we did not see that, we did not anticipate that, and so what will happen? And I think I would like to relate that to cases wherein people commit suicide, right? They commit suicide because probably they did plan, but what they planned didn't work. And probably because it didn't work, they don't have any contingency or any backup plan. And so for them, there's no future. There's no next chapter of whatever they have done. And so the easiest way for them to, accept what's happening at the current moment would be to end the chapter, and that's committing suicide, which is, I actually don't agree with, because there are, as I always say to my students, there will be failures and mistakes in your life, but that does not end your life. That does not, I would say, prevent you from, reaching your success. Probably you've heard stories of people who are now successful, like maybe Jack Ma. You know Jack Ma? You know his
Jack.
story, right? Jack Ma? Jack Ma is
Uh,
the one for Alibaba.
uh, yeah, that guy. Yeah,
Mm,
Yeah. Have you heard his story?
mhm.
many times. Yeah.
Many times, right? And probably you can relate with him. I mean, and Colonel Sanders? Who's
I mean,
Colonel
who doesn't know
Sanders?
him?
Oh
Who
yeah,
doesn't
who's
know him?
oh let me see. Who knows Colonel Sanders?
KFC.
Yeah, KFC. So KFC or Colonel Sanders, he's actually not a colonel, but the thing is he found his success at the age of 60. Probably for some people they will think it's quite late, but the thing is, sometimes it does not come as you plan for it. But what's important is, even though he has failed many times, he's willing to stand up and start again. So how do you see yourself now? That's why you said, Suyon, the future is very blurry. I mean, not only for you, even even for me. I don't know what's in store for me. That's why when people ask how long will you stay in Korea, I don't say forever, because I don't know. Because I'm here only for a contract basis. I mean, if Kim Young will give me the contract, then I can stay here legally. But we don't know. There's no assurance. The assurance is only for the time that you have the contract, then you're sure here. So I don't know either. But the thing is, I do have plans. I do have plans that if this happens, then this is probably what I can do. And not only plans, but I prepare myself. How do I prepare myself? Like what I've said, I'm using the keywords that you have shown, prepare and planning. How do I prepare? Look at this now. We're online. We're doing an online class. What if I don't know how to do this? What if I lack the skill operating and learning technology? If maybe I'm good in my craft, but suddenly things change, I'm not in the classroom, how can I do this? Right? If I did not
Mhm.
plan, I mean, I did not plan for this. It happened. But even though I did not plan for it and it happened, and I have equipped myself, that's the word that I want you to keep on yourself, equip. If I did not equip myself of things that are beyond my profession, do you think I will
Mm.
survive?
No.
Some people were caught unaware. That's why I said, even though you plan, sometimes it don't plan, but there's nothing we can do about that. But there's something
Mm.
we can do about ourselves, and that is equipping ourselves with skills, with knowledge that we think we can make use of in the future. Some people will ask, what if I
Mm.
can't use that? It's okay. Just set it aside. But I'm pretty sure whatever you're doing now, if it's something productive, if it's something that contributes to your well-being, that can be of use. Okay? So, yeah, the reason why I'm throwing, because we talked about the future. Now, why are we talking about the future? As I said, for us to prepare, for us to plan, and for us to probably see what we don't have right now. Okay? We're doing also an inventory. What do I have now? What I don't have right now. If you don't have it, that's fine. Okay? But the good thing
Mhm.
is you are aware you don't have it. Okay? Some people, they know that they do not have those skills, maybe, or knowledge, but they don't care. They don't care. What do? They just ignore it. They just set it aside and do nothing. Okay? So, what's better? You're aware and you're doing something of it, or you are not aware and, you know, you're not doing something. Being aware, you can do something. But not being aware or being ignorant about it is also your fault, right? Teachers do
Mhm.
come to school to teach the lessons that they're supposed to teach, to deliver it. But how do you know that's enough? I mean, I'm not discounting teachers, but what I'm trying to say is you need that, but you need more. You get the point? You need that and you need more. And that's why that's why we're talking about this. I mean, some teachers would deliver only lessons that they know good for you. That's fine. Whatever way of teaching they do use for you, that's okay. They're delivering their best. But that means to say that we cannot just, get all the knowledge and the skills from that. We have to find ways in order for us to figure out what talents do we have, what skills do we have, what are those that we do not have. That's why I'm telling you that, of course, this time that we have is something probably paralyzing the economy, but it does not paralyze I mean, on the other hand, looking at the brighter side of it, it gives you empowerment. It gives you the freedom to have time and conduct an inventory about what you have. Have you done that to yourself? Have you made an assessment of what do you have, the skills, the knowledge, what do you have, what you don't have?
Mm,
Are you in the process right now of developing what you don't have?
Mhm.
I want to hear from
mm,
you.
I can't say I do, ma'am.
Can't say you
Yeah,
do, right?
yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
the GPA that you are bragging about is not enough. It's not enough. I'll just give you a situation. Before, when you try to get a job, you're only competing with Koreans, right? In the job market, when you find a job, you're only competing with Koreans. But look now, you're not competing with Koreans anymore. You're having in competition with more people. When I say more
Mhm.
people, people coming from different parts of the world, people who are more skilled than you, more smarter than you.
Mhm.
Okay? And what will happen? If before Koreans are only competing with Koreans, still it's tough for them. But now we have an open world, right? So what do you think is your chance of getting a job?
Uh,
I should be valuable to the company.
Yeah, you should be valuable to the company. But of course, when you're just undergoing an interview, they will not be
Mhm.
able to see that, right?
Mhm.
Because the first thing that you have to do is to impress them. First, how? By sending an impressive resume. That's your first foot forward. If your resume is not good enough, do you think they will give you the opportunity to be seen and to hear from you? No.
Nope.
That's why I always say, guys, first thing that you have to look into is your resume. The second is the interview. So no matter how valuable you are, okay? I believe you, no matter how valuable you are. But if you don't know how to sell yourself, when I say selling means showing what you're capable of doing during the interview, you'll not get the job if you're not good in communicating, if you don't know how to do things like how to behave or how to prepare for interview. Okay, so that's the second. The third is, okay, I'll give you the chance, I'll take you in. You have to prove yourself. And what will you prove if you only have your GPA, right? So
Mhm.
aside from learning the courses that you're learning right now, there should be more learning. And that's why we have this 21st century skills for you to be open. You're lucky. Why? Because not everybody knows that they have to learn aside from the courses, aside from the major that they're teaching, right? Because not professors will talk about this because it's outside the boundaries of the lessons that they have to teach. So there should be a specialized, like maybe course like this that will teach you how to learn. Okay? So moving forward, I said learning. How should we learn? I have 5 questions that not only questions, but I have shown you the issues. Why should we learn, or how should we learn? Okay, and I've seen some people reacting on that. I've seen some submission of paper, but let's talk about the 5 things that uh, tells us how do you learn. So it says there that the world of work. Can you follow with me? Do you have the copy of that?
Yeah.
Can you know, pull it out and so that we can together look at it? You can get your, what's this? You can get your part 1 lecture notes. It's there. You don't see it? How should learning be? It says there that the world of work is increasingly made of teams. Did you see that? Maybe you did not look at your lecture notes. Maybe you only look at the recorded video, right? Okay. So nobody has a copy? Who has a copy? No one has a copy, so let me read for you. The world of work is increasingly made of teams working together to solve problems and create something new. You agree with this? If we will look around, we see that, you know, people are collaborating. People are not working alone. I've seen some of the papers submitted, and they said that it's not good to work alone because it's much better if we work with teams. Now, this is the reality of the world. I would say reality because when you go to the workplace, like what Dong Han Shin has experienced when he was sent for an exchange program, right? You've seen the reality that most of the things that happens in a company, if you want to join a company, is a team, team activity, or it's a project-based activity that is made up of teams. Okay, so if we are not, okay, that's why we said we have to prepare. But the question is, why do students mostly work alone and compete with others? Right? Why do students mostly work alone and compete with others for professors' approval? I'd like to walk you back to what I experienced dealing with Korean students. Korean students, when you ask them to do something, like if you group them, sometimes a student would come to me and say, I'm really sorry, professor, I cannot work with these people. That does not happen once. It usually happens in every class or in every activity that I ask them to work together. And so, because that is the issue that was brought to me, I don't pressure students. I don't, you know, I'm very flexible when it comes to that, knowing that people are more comfortable doing by themselves because we have some, you know, we have some introverts who are much more, I would say, productive if they do it alone. I let them be. But usually, what happens is they lose the opportunity to practice working as a team. That's my point. I'm just giving you the reality. Another thing is students do come to class. What for? Attendance. They always nag me about attendance. Whenever I make a mistake, like I have checked the attendance and they will come late, and so I have done it. Usually at the end of the day, or not only at the end of the day, but after class, they would email me and say, Professor, I was this. And I correct. But what I'm thinking is, how much percentage do we allot for attendance? That's just 10%. And 10% is very far from the 90% that you have to fill in together for you to get a good grade. So why is it happening? And students would want to give their best. Why? Because they want to compete with others. I have a lot of students calling me during the grade appeal. Why? Not to appeal for their grade, but to ask, what's the grade of this student? What is the grade of another student? Why is he higher than me? Because sometimes they would compare notes and check the grades that were given to them. So what's the point? I don't get that point, but I do see that behind that student asking, that they really don't know what's more important. Okay? Usually I give students' behavior as an example, but I don't name students because we're not gossiping here. We're learning from the experience. Okay? That's why I keep on telling students, you know what? That GPA will not be a guarantee or will not be a sole guarantee that you'll get a job. Right? There are students who graduates from the top of their class jobless because they only have the GPA. But who knows that there are more that you need to know and to have before you go to the job market. Okay? I'm throwing that question. I have nothing against Koreans. The thing is, I have spent my life here, 10 years, working and teaching with Korean students. And so that's just my observation. That's why I'm very radical. I'm very vocal, telling you that this is my observation. I'm very concerned about the future of my students. For me, the relationship does not end in the classroom. When I say does not end in the classroom, of course, we have a relationship, a student-teacher relationship. But as I committed myself into this profession, what I'm thinking is, after the student graduate, I will be the first person to be proud of what they have achieved, what they have been to. I always brag about my students. I mean, in the Philippines, I say that, you know what, there was a time that I took the plane. I can't afford to buy business class. And even though I can afford, I don't want to buy a business class because for me, it's a waste of money. But it so happened that one of the flight attendant who was a supervisor then saw me. And what did that person did to me? She upgraded me. She moved me to business class. Okay? I cannot remember what grade I gave to that student. But probably what I can remember is I have given that student that it's not all grade that matters. Okay? And because I have committed myself to be an educator, I want my students to have a brighter future. I want my students to succeed. Okay? Moving on to the next that we know is part of the knowledge age. Technology is more a part of people's lives, especially students, right? How many gadgets do you have? Aside from your phone, how many? And probably you live in a smart home, you have two, probably you five, probably you live in a smart home, right? Around us is technology, wherever we go. Have you been to a place that there's no technology? Most often there is, right? When I say technology, there's Wi-Fi, there is something that is automated or a robotic intelligence that will help or assist you. But the question is, why do some professors do not allow you to use your smartphone in classroom? Right? You know why? Do you know why they don't allow you? Why?
They
It's
always think,
districts.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
What is it?
No,
Keep
keep going.
Go ahead.
Uh, they always think that, how should I say, when you just play with smartphones, they always think that you're just playing. They're thinking of you're just how should I say, in your Kakao Talk or something like that, they don't think you're paying attention to their class.
They don't think, but what's the reality? What's the real thing happening? Imagine a class that has 50 to 100 students. What's happening? I know
Well,
why. I can relate with these professors. Because students, again, I would go back to my example, would rush to the classroom to get that attendance, for them to be marked present. And after that, what will they do?
sneak out.
Bring out. No, yeah, sneak out. Yeah, that happens to my class. And sometimes they do have a date after class. And so they will make the classroom like they'll make up themselves. Sometimes they would have rollers on their head. Yeah, this is a reality. This is Korea, okay? I'm just telling you, so don't be offended. We're talking things here for us to make sense of what we're doing right now. So the reason why they don't allow you to use a smartphone is because you abuse the freedom, right? You abuse the freedom in a sense that, of course, sometimes professors are boring, especially if you don't understand them. But the thing is, what are you doing? You're looking at your Kakao Talk, you're looking at Instagram, you're in your Facebook. When professors would call your attention because you're doing something, you know what? They're concerned. I'll tell you that. They're concerned. If they don't mind you looking at your phone or whatever gadget you have, you don't exist. So which one will you choose? Somebody who will warn you to pay attention, or someone who will just let you do whatever you want? We're paid. We're paid even though you don't listen to us, right? We're paid. I mean, the payment doesn't, the salary that we get doesn't depend on how many students did listen to us. So I hope you make sense of that. So if somebody would definitely, a professor that would definitely call your attention that you're not focusing your attention, be thankful to that. Don't be offended. But you know what's happening? It's the other way around. You pull down the evaluation because you're pissed off, because your attention was called off. So look at that behavior. I'm pointing out those behaviors because why? We're talking about 21st century behaving because it's not only you. Your work matters and your civic duties are being a good citizen. We talk about a global citizen, right? So it has to start from you, okay? And so if teachers will know that you will be using your technology, your smartphone especially, in trying to understand what's the lesson, I don't think they will prohibit you from using it. So probably develop that culture of, paying attention. Because bear in mind that you paid your tuition fee. So if you don't pay attention, you're wasting your money. Okay? Moving on to the next. Doing projects on something that you care about harder. Oh, let me can see very clearly. Doing projects on something one cares about comes out naturally to learners. You have actually mentioned this already when we shared what you liked during your middle school and during your university years. That's why in most of my classes I do give students projects to work on because projects are a good way of developing the student. I don't box the student. I don't limit their learning. When I say I don't box, I don't say make this specifically according to my specification. No, I usually give the freedom. If you will ask Sub what did they do in my international tourism and culture, I ask them to do something. What medium, it's up for them to choose. Because that's how life is. You will not be boxed when you go to the workplace. Meaning to say, they will let your creative juices come out. Okay? So, yeah, remember that. If you have a project to work on, that's something good for you. Don't complain. Just try. And another thing that I noticed when students submit something, usually they don't want feedback. They don't want to hear feedback. And the thing that they hate most, they don't want to redo. Okay?
Very correct. Very correct.
Very correct. Yeah, very correct. Because I think my observation for 10 years is already, you know, it stuck in my mind. I'm sad. Redoing the project and spending time with my students is eating my time. I can do more. But the thing is, I'm giving my time. Why? Because I'm concerned. I'm asking them to redo. Why? Because I want them to prove that they can do better. But again, it's looked differently. It looks on the negative side. For them, students would think, I'm not good enough. Okay? Don't be offended if teachers or professors will ask you to redo. Instead, be thankful because not all professors will give you feedback, will ask you to do it again. Okay? Sometimes you think this is actually another thing. Sometimes student thinks they're smarter than the teacher. Yeah, I would say that there are students who are sometimes smarter than the professor. If I will have that kind of students in my class, I will usually tap them and give them the opportunity to share what they know. Because I know that most often there are students better than me. I don't think myself as the superior. I think I always tell students that we are all the same. We're all learners. And so maybe we can contribute to somebody. That's why if I see that student has a lot of experience, a lot of things to contribute, I give that person the slot, the chance to share the knowledge. But don't feel entitled. Don't make your head big if you know a lot, right? Because remember, even though you say you're smart, deaf for sure, there are things that you really don't know. So be open to learning. That's actually my point. Okay. So next. The world is full of engaging, real world challenges, problems, and questions. Okay? So that's happening now. We have a real issue. It's a pandemic. And probably until now, we don't have the best answer or the best solution to what's happening. So why learning projects are so scarce inside so many classrooms? Students don't want to do things. Students just want to sit down, right? They just want to listen. They just want to sit down and doing nothing. They don't want to do other things. They always expect that at the end of I would say that the end of the class, that's it, done, accomplished. Okay, so how does that make sense? The presence. If you get out of the classroom without bringing with you something that you learned, something that you hear new for that day, you lost. You lost. Even a single word, you lost. So you lost money. You lost the tuition fee that you paid for. Okay. So yeah, that's another reality. And why do schools spend a lot of no, innovation and creativity are very important. Innovation and creativity. What's innovation? How is can you help me understand what is innovation for you? How do you understand innovation? Innovation.
Innovation. It
Yeah.
is. I think it's like translating idea into like useful and like creative like products or service.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good definition coming from you. How is it different from creativity?
Creativity.
Yeah. You mentioned creativity also
hmm
because you said creative idea when you
hmm
defined innovation. So how do
hmm
you look at creativity then?
Creativity is, I would say, it's a Creativity is something new, like from different perspective, or mm, like unique and like fresh idea.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
hard to define. Yeah.
Creativity is not memorizing. Because
Mhm.
if I give you, like, for example, tourism, and this is the definition, and if you just imitate me about the definition, that's not being creative. Being creative means making sense of what I said and trying to explain it coming from your own perspective. So, creativity is actually a product of whatever you have in your head. You will not be creative if there's no stock of knowledge here. Stock of knowledge for problem solving, stock of knowledge for whatever you need for that moment. The innovation is like what's happening now. How did this phone started? Started first with a very idea of just a smartphone, a phone, right? So a phone operated by cellular sites, meaning to say you don't need a line to get the signal to receive a message. And so during the early times when it started, it's just only for the purpose of what? Calling and receiving calls. And then they found out that they can combine the talk, the conversation, and the text. That's why they have the new phone, which can send message and which can talk to another party. What happens after? They learn that, oh, we can use it for camera. So the third function, send message, call, taking picture. And then they added more and more. And if you look at your smartphone, that's why it's called a smartphone. It can do a lot of things. Okay? That's a simple way of showing you what innovation is. Do you think you can
Mhm.
contribute to innovation? Do you think you have the creative juice that can contribute to innovating whatever we are, using right now in the world? You don't need to think big. Start small. Okay, start because of course it's a skill. So if it's a skill, it needs to be practiced. Okay, so that's why we said that what should learning be or how should learning be? We already answered. We learn through teamwork, we learn through doing projects, we learn through doing things that we like doing, we learn through addressing real problems and issues, and we learn through expressing our creativity and doing some innovative things. You like that idea of learning? Okay.
Mhm.
What can you say about the students? Because, of course, you know your environment. You have classmates. And not everybody think the same way as you. What do you think you can do? Remember that we're not here only for ourselves. We're here for other people. So what do you think you can do? How will you assess the other Koreans that are with you in the classroom? Do they have the open mind just like you? What do you think? Yeah, Kwang Soo.
Mm,
think making them to have the same mind with you is a work process.
Okay. Work process. Do you think what we're talking about now is easy to accept for majority of the students that goes to class?
Some might not agree, but I think making them to agree is the key point of
No,
working
it's
with
not
other
making
people.
them to agree. I mean, it's not convincing them. The thing is, you just have to present the knowledge. You are not here to force people. That's not our job. I'm talking about this not to really convince you. It's up to you. I mean, if you take it from what I'm saying, that's fine. If you don't respond because you think that you still would want to be stuck in your own traditional way, that's fine also. I'm here to present. I'm here not to limit your knowledge, but I'm here to open your mind to a new knowledge, to a new way of learning. So in your case, what do you think is will be the response of people, of students, when they hear about this? How will they respond? I mean, let me just give you that in my country is a third world country. And because people know, my students know, that the only way for them to be out of poverty and to have a more comfortable life would be to do this. Because their parents did not pamper them. Why? Because their parents doesn't have the means to pamper, to give everything to the students while they're in the university. And so students have an open mind of having a prospect in the future, getting the best that they can get, the best that they can get when they go to the university. We don't have hagwons, just like you have. Just to, just to insert some cultural perspective about education. We don't have hagwons. Why do we don't have hagwons? We don't have hagwons for math, for science, for arts, for English. We don't have that. Why? Because not everybody can afford to pay extra for that hagwon. And in the Philippines, again, I'm sharing with you a cultural perspective that if you do extra classes, extra lesson outside the classroom, you're not good enough to absorb everything in class. So instead of being proud about it, it's humiliating. And so the challenge for every student would be to get the most that they can get when they go to the classroom. And so I'm saying that this kind of thinking is already present in my country. They demand for projects, they demand for activities. And whenever we do have lecture, we don't have lecture. What we have is an open forum wherein I will just talk this much and students would react, and that will keep the ball rolling. That's how things are done. We don't just learn inside the classroom. We go out, we do things, we practice. Like what I've said, I'm teaching events management. It's not lecture. For me to understand that they are picking up what we have talked about, they have to execute. So what I'm trying to drive at is the way I look at this new way of learning. It's only here in Korea that the passive way of learning is still happening.
Yeah.
In my home country, even though we're a third world, probably because people are driven to be out of poverty, that's why they have the self-motivation to make the best version of themselves. So what do you think? What do you think will be the response of the students with regard to that issue?
Mm. Well,
It's hard.
actually, yeah. I heard that a lot of Korean students are just, how should I say, just participating in class to just get good grades because, well, in our minds, good grades equals to good jobs, and good jobs equals to a good life. But yeah, what should I say? Korea right now, if we, or how should I say, asked to just, how should I say, just participate in class, or just, how should I say, question or ask for more work, then many Korean students will object to this because we are only focused on getting good grades. That's all. We don't care if, how should I say, if knowledge always comes to our brains or something. We don't care as long as we get good grades and have a good resume, or how should I say, just getting a good job. Yeah. If this doesn't fix in Korean society at all, I don't think any student will participate in class,
I'd like to
especially
pick,
Koreans.
yeah, I'd like to pick up what you said. Fix. So there's nothing to fix, you think?
No, there's a lot to fix, especially in the education system. There's too much to fix.
Okay.
We're still stuck in, how should I say, in the 1960s, like that, especially in the education system.
So it's an issue for you that needs to be
Very,
addressed.
yeah, I think it's a very serious issue because we don't change. We don't change at all. Even, how should I say, every people says Korea is a fast changing country, but I don't think it's changing within.
I think it's changing. Look at Dong Han Shin. He has a new perspective after becoming an exchange student, right? You have a new perspective of learning.
Well, is, how should I say, I think if a student just stayed in Korea, he wouldn't have a new perspective, I think. Dong
Okay.
Han Shin actually went outside of Korea and experienced a new thing in order to get a new perspective on himself. Just stayed in Korea, well, I'm sorry, Dong-han, I'm
No,
not,
no, you're good. Yeah,
yeah,
you can say that.
yeah, like that, yeah.
Okay. So would you like to pick up this issue as a problem? Go ahead, Dong Han Shin.
Yeah. So from my experience, both in Korea and like abroad, I think like in Korea, it's too much focused on like competition. While like abroad, they are more like concerned about the like collaboration. It's not about debate. It's more about like discussing. But in Korea, it's about debate, and you should like line up all the students in like according to their scores and their
Yeah.
their levels. And like what you spoke just right now like reminds me of one like recent video I watched it. It's he was like professor or like at some university, and he says like in Korea, like we call in Korea the like all the GPA, all the like experience, we call it spec. And he mentioned that like spec is used to use like in World War II in German, and it's like it describes how the weapon how strong the weapon it is, and like it describes the weapon. And in Korea we use it like without any hesitation, without any like feeling nothing. So like, in Korea, like people are focused on like how should I say, like their competitive advantage, like over others, not about collaboration. And I think like in university, like if we use the relative evaluation, while like US and Canada they use like absolute.
Yeah,
uh
we use that
yeah,
absolute.
that I
Yeah.
think that makes big difference, because like when I was studying in US, like we collaborate, we study together, because like like if you get more than 90, regardless of the number, you all get A. But like in Korea, like it's you should be better than the other no matter of your score. So
Yeah, that's
that makes
actually, yeah.
that makes huge difference in term when it comes to the purpose of education and like collaboration. So yeah, that's what I think of this subject.
That's true. That's my problem also. My hands are tied when grading students because I have to follow your curve. In
Mm-hmm.
our case, we're absolute, and the learning depends on how can we help the person and not just to deliver the lesson. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, as we talk about this issue, it means that you said there's something to be fixed. The good thing that is happening right now is you're aware that there's something wrong, that you're admitting there's something wrong. Okay, because that's where knowledge and you know making sense of things comes in. I mean, that's what you need. That's the skill that you need when you go to the workplace. So you said there's a big it's not something that's small that needs to be fixed, but it's a major overhaul of the system. Okay. And so what do you think is the answer? If we will try to break it down, okay, we know that there's an issue. What will now be the
Mm-hmm.
solution? In your own simple way, because as I said, you're learning for yourself, you're getting things for yourself, but remember that you have a responsibility towards the other Koreans. How do you think you can come up with a solution for this. It may not be, you know, an overnight problem to think about. It might be something big, but that's a question that I would like to throw to you. How can you be part of the solution for the issue that we're talking about here?
Solution.
Yeah.
This is far too big. I
No,
think we
that's
need a politician for this.
don't bite the pie in one bite. Just get a small bite, get a small piece of it. I mean, there's no big or small contribution. If we want to see change, it should start even with just a small step, right? So how can we address? Is this good? Is this issue good to be adapted as a project for this class? Because as I've told you, there should be practice of the skills. So we can work on this. I mean, it's not the talking. We will make use of technology. How we can revolutionize, or how we can probably give a new perspective to education if you want that. I mean, I'm just suggesting that it can possibly be done through you. Okay, of course, I believe, I mean, it's not only your role, but all, there are so many stakeholders in this issue: the government, the public, especially the parents that are very complaining when they don't like what's happening in school. You know, there are so many stakeholders. So it's up to you to look at this issue if you want to adopt it as a project. Now, if you want, we can work it out. We can talk about this, and then, you know, we can practice what we're talking about in terms of the application of knowledge. Okay, so let's set it aside. And are you still good? You still have time? Are you still good? We need to look into another part of the issues of the 21st century. Do we need to talk about that? Okay, so yeah, 21st issues and challenges. So if you are with me, the world's global financial and economics ecosystem as an interlinked system. Do you see that? A disruption in one part of the world has consequences to economies everywhere. Do we need to explain this? Yes, Konsub.
Sir, can I, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can I know if you've got our assignment?
Yeah, I have seen yours. I've seen yours. I've scanned it. I have done scan reading, but I haven't given full time to it. There are 4 assignments that were submitted. I checked it
Professor,
before. Yeah.
I'm having, starting from yesterday, I had problem submitting the task to your Google Drive.
Okay.
It seems to be I don't have the authority to upload the file.
Okay.
Yeah,
In
me
that
too
case,
also.
oh, you too. In that
Yeah.
case, this is my solution. Send me your email address. Send me a message. Give me your email address, and then I'll personally add your email address to that folder. Okay, so that you can have the access. Others don't have, don't have a problem dropping the document, right? But if you cannot do that, please send me a message after we finish this. After we finish this, send it to my phone, because after we finish this, I'm going to close this and record it and then upload. So I cannot recall anymore your email address. So send it to my phone, send it to Kakao, private message me, and then I'll add you immediately after we finish the session. Okay? So any more issues you have to, Kwang Sob, yeah, you're saying something. You're asking me if I've read your work, right? As I said, yeah, it's quite long. I have scanned it. So it would be good to hear from you through this online class, because I guess you have a very substantial answer for that. And maybe your classmates would be happy to hear you saying your piece about the answers to that. Okay? Yeah. Who else? Any more issue that we need to talk about?
No, I don't think
Do
so.
we still have time?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay. Are you okay to continue? Or will
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Anyway, this is an easy topic. 21st century issue. So, as I've said, the ecosystem, the financial and the economic ecosystem as an interlinked system. So, do we need to discuss about this, or do you already understand this issue?
I think we are experienced that,
Yeah, we
right
are
now.
all having the practical
Mhm.
experience of this two, the global financial and economic
Mhm.
system. And have you seen, like, there's this something that going on around Facebook about their say in the virus that China created it. Have you seen that China created it
No.
to actually pull down the economic and the financial global market for
I
them to
heard
come.
rumors, but
Yeah, that's why I
I
said
didn't.
rumors. I don't know what's the truth about that, but it's
Mhm.
actually a created virus to create a pandemic, and creating a pandemic would result to financial and economic, fall down.
Yes.
And they say, I say they say because I don't know the truth, that China made that in order for them to, buy most of the stocks and own the rest of the world. And they said, again, it's a rumor that even though before this became a pandemic, they already have the vaccine or the cure, but they're trying to hold on to it and not share it to the world. Anyway, let's move out from that issue, but instead we can see the effect of, like, a simple health issue that started with one person and how it spread to the whole of the country, moving to another country until affecting the whole world. Okay, so that's an issue. That's why I said, let's not just look at the questions in the textbook, but instead look at the issues. What can we do? Like what we have just talked about a while ago. There's a big overhaul needed for the education system. So what can you contribute to that? And then another is the growing disparity in the world between the rich and the poor. Can you see? So because of that disparity, there's social tension. How social tension is happening? Social tension because, of course, people are rallying, right? Rallying for, look
Mhm.
at the situation now. Most of the people are not working. What do you think will happen to the people who are just making money when they work? Like, there are a lot of jobs that just get money, no work, no pay. How do you think they will survive?
It's almost impossible.
It's impossible. But I think that this is, again, an opportunity for those who have to show what they can do. As you said, collaboration. This is not the time to compete, that you have food, you just hoard it for yourself. This is an opportunity for us to help other people. Okay, social tension, conflicts, extremism would mean those who are rich are becoming more rich and those who are poor are becoming poor. I have seen some pictures of homeless living in Seoul. Not only pictures, I've seen them in the subway. And it's surprising because knowing that Korea is a country that is advanced, how come there are people who are homeless?
Well, if you look at the US, then
Yeah, another thing also in the US, it's actually heartbreaking. When I went to LA, especially in San Francisco, you can say that it's a modern city, it's an urban place, but there's a lot of people in the homeless when you get out of the subway.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, that's an issue that is happening, a reality. So what can we do about that? And because there's a disparity between the rich and the poor, what do you think the poor will do? They'll find ways. They beg. And if they beg and they don't get anything, what's the next step for survival?
well,
Criminal.
they have to thief.
Yeah, they have to rob, they will become criminals because the instinct of surviving is there. Okay? So, can we do something? Maybe in our own little way, we can do something. It doesn't mean that don't point your finger to the government. Okay, maybe the government has something to do, but we can have our own share of solution to this one. Another issue is not issue, but challenges in the physical environment. The global population has risen from 2.5 billion in 1950 to 7.7 billion in 2019. I know Korea cannot be blamed for this because Korea has stopped producing, right? But there are other
Yes.
countries who are still very productive, like in my home country. We're actually kidding because, in Korea, the population is an issue right now. There are no babies being produced. And so we're joking that why they don't just bring some Filipinos to Korea? Because in our country, people who are homeless has more kids. Those who are just living on a corner under the bridge and maybe in a pushcart, they have 5, they have 7 children. So, it's a joke that they're very productive. But the thing is, they're not thinking of what will be the future of their children. But anyway, population is an issue. And because it's an issue, okay, uh, that means to say, if there are more people, the Earth's consumption will increase. So how do we sustain the planet? That's why, if you will again recall that in the future trends, it says there that people will be living in Mars, right? Because they think that Earth will be saturated in the next few years, and so they're finding another place to live. Okay, and then the middle class, increased middle class means increase in consumption. How is that? When you have more money, you have more money to spend. Like, instead of having maybe one smartphone, you have 3. Instead of just having one car, you have 5. Okay, and because of that, that means to say more damage again to the environment. Increased consumption of resources is causing climate change. Okay, and other threats to the natural world. So, meaning to say, if something happened, who's affected? Not only one person, not only one area, but the rest of the world. So these are issues that probably you have the answer. I say probably you have the answer. So instead of just playing games, instead of just, I don't know what university students are playing right now. Like my nephew is on Minecraft, but he's just 10 years old. I don't know what the university students are busy playing with now in PC banks. Maybe instead of doing that, how about if we find solutions to the problems that we have talked about? Like, we have overconsumption, okay? We have wars, we have threat to security, we have an increased global competition, and we also have interdependence. So again, I'm throwing the question to you. How can you contribute in this world to be sustained? So many issues. Well, why will you pick to answer like one question after a chapter, where in fact you can look at these issues, right? So I guess we'll end it there. We still have another presentation to look into that we did not finish. That is the education's purpose. And that's a very good topic because I have showed you on that video presentation the difference of education's goal depending on the age. Like, agrarian age, what do they need? Industrial age, what does the society needs? And now in the knowledge age, what do we need? What do you need? So I will trust you that you have understood the agrarian and the industrial. For next session, we will focus on the education's goals in the knowledge age. And I would like you to contribute by probably sharing your example, sharing your plans on how you can improve yourself so that you'll succeed in work and you become a responsible citizen of whatever country you choose. Okay, so prepare for that. I would appreciate if you will be actively interacting with me and not just listening. I know you have a lot of things to say. Even though you share it in Korean, that's fine. We have good people here who can translate. That's okay. I allow that in this session. If what hinders you to participate is the lack of English communication skills, may I ask permission to those who are here to, let's allow those people, but help me understand that, okay? So that's how we learn. We're not actually tied with the language that we have, but we can always have our share of knowledge in whatever language we feel comfortable. Okay? So don't be shy. That's how things are right now. I mean, maybe some are good in English for now, but it doesn't mean that you'll never be good. An opportunity for you to practice, an opportunity for you to challenge yourself. So as we end, I would say, as we are tied at home, and I don't know until when, be productive. Be productive. Make an inventory. What this, what this staying at home and social distancing have done you to improve yourself. Okay? So I think we can close this session. I would like to thank you all for listening, for contributing to our very interesting discussion. And please don't set aside the issue that we have talked about a while ago. That is, how can we help people to learn better, especially the Koreans? Okay, how can we make sense of learning in this Korean society? We have to start within us. So that's it. I wish you a wonderful weekend ahead. And again, we will see each other when? Same time, right? Friday, 10:30, and go back to the next video. Would you like me to post again another video for next week, or would you like to ponder on the the goal of education for the knowledge age? What's your opinion about that?
I think it's, how should I say, more productive to us to ponder on what is the education goal for ourselves. Because
Okay.
it will be the next topic.
Yeah, that's the next topic. So maybe I will be uploading another video so that you can have an advanced view of what's the next lesson. Okay, thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a
See you
good
next
weekend.
week. Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Mhm.